Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well, and I wish I could say the same. I feel bloody terrible today. Anyone with half a brain would have stayed in bed, to be perfectly honest. Um, just not on my best, so be gentle with me. Apologies also for the slightly strange camera angle. One of the things that dragged me out of my sick bed this morning was I'd made a promise to unveil our new Breakfast Show merch line. So here we go. Here you go. I can hear myself in my speakers, which is good. That's got rid of it. There you go. Brand new hat, the Breakfast Show. As you can see, my usual streamer hat, that one, which has served me so well over the past few years, temporarily hung up. So we've gone over to the new hat. Sorry if I'm a bit scruffy this morning. I'm up half the night, but being sick, to be honest. First day back at work is Gary Muirhead. Came back on Saturday from 28 degrees to -4 in Glasgow. Yeah. Dan Cullen is liking the hat. Chris Ford is here as well. And I know, good morning, Clan. Good morning, Chris. And I know Ken Hatcher is on a new site today. I'm assuming he is still down in Wales. Mick Saunders is here as well. And I know LinkedIn seems to be playing silly buggers again. But I know Mick Norton has got torrential rain where he is. Glenn Johnson's here as well. So let me go back to the hat. This hat, together with a whole bunch of other branded merch. There you go. You can see it. Now on our updated website. Now let me go and do something about that. We do have a button for this. Bear with me one second. As I said, not exactly firing on all cylinders, but there you are. The merch store. There you go. It's in the chat. And as you can see, as it stands today, 15% off and free delivery while stocks last. Now, I'm just going to go over there very quickly just to show you a few other bits and pieces. Obviously, the big focus at the moment is the Breakfast Show gear, but with Christmas coming up, also you can take advantage of our well, it's been our most popular items to date, actually. We came up with a design a few years ago called Wreck the Halls, not Deck the Halls, but Wreck the Halls. And it's, as I say, it's been a bestseller. Every Christmas, we seem to sell more and more of them. So if you are interested, and again, the same discount applies, you get 15% off and free delivery. And you can find a link to that in the chat. Dan Cullen has just said, I want to get that hoodie and caps. Do you have other colours? I'll tell you what, rather than answering that question, let's go and have a look. How would you like it in like a nice denim-y blue, or in black, or in navy perhaps, or even in yellow? Yes, we've got a multitude of colours over there for everything, basically. So if you are interested in a bit of Breakfast Show merch, you can do that. Dan, I will put the link on WhatsApp. No problem at all. Going to say good morning to Mark Whiting. Let me get this off as well. Yes, in addition to all of that, I don't want this to be a market stall this morning. In addition to that, it is Monday today, so I do have a bit of light reading for you. Today's column is called All Those Memories. The title was actually inspired, for those of you of a certain age, was inspired by a line from the movie Blade Runner, for those of you old enough to remember. And it is the story that laments the passing of Squib Group. If you fancy that, let me see. I can post a link to that in the chat as well. You should be looking at that now. If you're in our WhatsApp group, don't bother taking down a note of the link. It's already there. You can go and take a look as you see fit. And there is our friend Andy Bullock. Morning, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, I've already been talking for nearly 4 minutes and we haven't done a damn thing yet. So without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. It is Monday, the 27th of November. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony, even though you may not recognise me because I'm wearing a different hat. In today's show, white on white, Hidromek machines clear the snow. The Cat 993 or the Cat 994, which one is best? Well, there's only one way to find out. And guitars and piling rigs make sweet music together. Weird. Could you be a Volvo Master? Plus, believe it or not, the countdown to Bauma 2025 is already underway. But first, we're going to peer back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this day in history. This must have been one of those very quiet days in history, actually, because on this day in 1934, bank robber Babyface Nelson was killed in a shootout in Illinois. In 1964, filming started on the pilot of what would ultimately become Star Trek. In 2013, the animated film Frozen was released. In 2017, Prince Harry announced his engagement to Meghan Markle. And didn't that go well? Didn't we all embrace that fully? Yeah. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me very quickly remind you of our question of the day. I'll come back to the question of the day in just a second. I do need to say good morning to John Finley, who's just joined us. Morning, John. But I've just... I'm going to take this as a compliment, bizarrely. Mick Saunders says, you just froze up my end, your mouth open, and I thought, God almighty, he looks like Animal from the Muppets. I aspire to that. Fantastic. Yeah, we are starting to get some answers through on our question of the day. And that question of the day comes from our friend, Mr. Gary Muirhead, who's just back from Tenerife and is probably enjoying the Scottish weather, literally as we speak. But along with a sombrero, a straw donkey, and some questionable booze, Gary returned, clutching a brand new question of the day. And it is this: if money were no object, if somebody else was picking up the tab and you could attend any of the international equipment exhibitions, which one would you choose? Now, I thought about this and I've got a couple, and I have to say I'm a bit torn. I missed out on going to Bauma, China a few years ago, back in 2019, actually, when my face was being put back together again. So that would definitely be in the running. But I had an absolute blast at Samota earlier this year, and I do love Italian food. So that could be in the running as well. But what about you? Let us know in the chat. Money, no object. Which of the international plant exhibitions would you care to attend? And Hillhead and Plantworks both apply. If those are your fancy, knock yourselves out. Not a problem at all. Now, let's crack on, shall we? Now, according to the Met Office, the UK could be hit with a snow bomb later this week, and it could be worse than we previously feared. Initial reports suggested that Scotland and Northern Ireland would bear the brunt of the blizzard-like conditions, but according to latest reports, and I do mean latest because I was looking at this 10 minutes ago, the snow could cover the UK from London to Cardiff as well. So, while you're busy battening down the hatches, here's how another country deals with snow. I do love me some Hidromek. And I realise that a white machine in white conditions is a potential health and safety risk. But my take is this: if it works for polar bears, kind of works for me.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
I'm just going to answer very quickly. Our friend Footy has just said, good morning, Graham, by the way. When is the snow bomb meant to happen? This month, next month, or when, please? According to the Met Office this morning, it arrives on Thursday this week. And not only are we going to get snow, but we're also seeing temperatures down in the minuses, proper minuses. And I realise that Scotland's already got those because Scotland, but even down here in the south of England, we are going to be down in the minuses. So batten down the hatches and brace yourselves. Gary Muirhead says, funny seeing snow chains on a loading shovel. Yeah, sometimes see them in quarries where they're working with particularly abrasive stone and stuff like that. But yeah, why not? Why not indeed? Now, the Cat 993 and the Cat 994, both built by the world's biggest construction equipment manufacturer, both are gigantic. But given the choice, which one would you choose? Before you decide, I'm going to show you both of them working side by side to allow you to make an informed decision. Now, I do need to dredge this off of my computer because it's another one of those big video files. So bear with me to 2 ticks. Here we go. So, which one do you prefer, 993 or 994? Personally, I'm going 994 because 994 is bigger, like Spinal Tap. Mine goes all the way up to 11. If you're old enough, you'll probably remember that. Which one do you prefer? Let's see, what have we got here? Big kit there, says Ken Hatcher. Awesome kit. Bigger the better, says Dan Cullen. Jim Turner is enjoying the tune and says they both look a solid sound mount to be on. They most certainly do. Gary Muirhead has asked, is that a D10 or a D11 in the background? I think it's a D10. I'm doing that purely by size, and I realised the perspective was weird. I think D10. Could be wrong. There is Footy Williams saying music's pretty good. Nice cat machines. They always do a good job, don't they? Just Dan Cullen says, surprisingly, the bigger the machine, the cabs very small. They're not that small. It is a perspective thing. I've been in a 994 cab. It's as big as this, pretty much. I think Caddick got it right with the big kit. Yeah. Would you look anywhere else? I wonder. Why not make bigger cabs? There's operators in them all day for more space. Yeah. Well, maybe. And what a tune for a Monday. We do aim to please. And there's Andy Bullock says, great machines, but imagine doing that same thing all day. Not for me, to be honest. Yeah, and that is why a lot of the big mining and quarrying kit now has fatigue monitoring on board, because same thing, day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute. Yes, I totally agree with you. See exactly where you're coming from. So, with that out of the way, let's have a little bit of this. I'm now going to say a sentence I never thought I would hear myself utter. Our next film features piling rigs and guitars.
Hello, my name is Anton Seriev. I'm CTO at Geoservice Engineering Bulgaria. I'm a father. I have a big passion for drilling and piling, operating big machines, and also I'm a guitar player and a singer.
This is a tailings dam for a local copper mine. The scope of this project is a cut-off wall for prevention of water permeability. For this deep mixing, soil mixing project, we are using the LRB 355 in a triple setting. We're using the triple soil mixing technique because we are executing a wall, and it's faster production, and it's all problems like deviation and quality of mixing superior with this technology.
I can compare, controlling 355 with, like playing a guitar, or playing the drums. You work with all of your limbs, So everything in a perfect coordination, and you need to be 100% there. So that's a commitment that you have to choose to make. Definitely similar vibes,
In this particular project, we are treating quite different type of layers. Artificial layer, which was installed because this originally was a lake. So to handle the bearing capacity for the rig, we need to create a stable platform. So that's the first layer. Then we have the tailings, which is a very fine silt residue from the mine. And the bedrock, which is the native ground below. The depth of the soil mixing being performed is 20 meter maximum. Diameter is 1 meter.
Playing the right equipment is, at least for our music, is very critical. Related to to the field and to have the proper drilling rig or piling rig. I think it's actually more important, because with the music stuff you can hide it, at least try to mask it, but going on site, if the machine is not right, that's it.
This is the second stage of this project, and in the first one we found out that a regular Portland cement was not doing its proper job, and after a few tests we switched to slag cement. The deep cell mixing method in this particular case is far superior to any other technique, economically, environmentally, using the native strata or the native material as a construction material definitely has an impact. Yeah.
Having a good relationship with your bandmates and having a good relationship with your team, for example, on site is the key, to make a job. On job site, equipment and people are everything.
We bought the LRB 355 because Liebherr has a very strong, representation in Bulgaria, and we wanted, a machine that can be regularly serviced, because this is a complex rig. A lot of electronics, latest emission standard engine, so that requires somebody who is reliable. To be honest, we are very happy with our choice.
Gotta say, given the choice, I think I prefer the guitar, but if a piling rig has got Liebherr written on its side, then it's probably the Fender Strat of the piling world. I'm going to throw over to the chat very, very quickly. Mick Norton Mick Norton says, fatigue monitoring, what the F? Heated, air-conditioned cabs, ergonomically perfect. They don't know they're born today. It's a fair point, Mick. However, would you like to go back to a hand-cranked start on your car? Would you like to go back to manually operated windows on your car? Same thing. Same thing. I'm also going to say good morning to Carly Northwood. Carly, I've been working on my diary over the weekend. I'm going to be back to your colleague later today with some suggested dates, and my apologies for the delay. That's just between me and Carly. Pretend that didn't happen. Now, bit of this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Operator competitions. I've got a bit of a love-hate relationship with them, to be honest. Those hosted worldwide by the likes of Caterpillar are superb, well organised, and they really do sort the best from the very best. Some of those competitions that take place a little closer to home are, well, let's just say they have a very different agenda. However, as you're about to hear, the Volvo Masters competition in 2024 looks set to rival the Caterpillar contest in more ways than one. Please, could somebody from this audience go and win this? I'll tell you in a minute.
Volvo Master had deep impact on my career. It provided me with the knowledge and skills that have been really valuable. I'm Hassan Sadabi. I'm a service market manager at Volvo Construction Equipment based here in Eskilstuna. I have been part of Master in 2009, 2013 and 2015 while working with Al-Barjoub Engineering and Famco in Dubai. Entering Volvo Master for the first time, it was powered by my curiosity to explore and try something new and different beyond my daily routine. It was truly exceptional. It was a journey filled with learning and personal growth. Volvo Master offered the platform and the opportunity for us as a team to compete in a global stage with other Volvo talented technicians. The sense of belonging to a Volvo, a global community, makes the experience really wonderful. One of my favorite aspects of the competition was teamwork. We had to work as a team to be able to tackle and solve the challenges. And Master highlight the value of collaboration and effective communication within a team. The final rounds of Master are always mixed with fun and wonderful activities that stick to the memory. But one stands out, that the moment when my team has been qualified to the regional final, that the sense of accomplishment was incredibly satisfying. The great networking opportunities through Masters open a wider door to the world that has shaped my career path with Volvo. I strongly encourage anyone considering entering Volvo Masters. It's not just a competition. It's a journey that might shape your career in a ways that you might not even anticipate.
So yeah, come on, people. We have some Volvo lovers in our midst. Gary Muirhead, you're probably sat in a Volvo as we speak. I realise you're not an employee, but could you be a Volvo master? Wouldn't it be fantastic if somebody from the Breakfast Show audience were crowned Volvo Master 2024? Now, I realise that 2023 is not over yet, but we're about to look even further into the future. So please, stick around.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast Show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
Let's have a look. Would love that. Is that in the UK? It's not in the UK. Well, I think it's worldwide actually, but it's worldwide. But as I say, I think it's an employee thing. Paul Deegan is in his Volvo right now. Morning, Paul. Hope you're comfy. You're in a Volvo. Of course you're comfy. Can think of very few places I'd rather be. So on Friday last week, we brought you a film preview of the Intermat show that is taking place in Paris in April next year. Well, if that feels like a long way off, take a look at this. Yep, 7th to the 13th of April in 2025. April 2025. It will be pretzel and schnitzel time again. Who among you is going? And bearing in mind our question of the day, would this be your dream exhibition? If someone else was paying, I wonder. Who was it? Dan Collins just asked, why don't we have shows of that scale in the UK? Good question. I guess the answer is because it's mainland Europe and Germany is central-ish. Obviously, it's a German show for the Germans, but it's also very international. So you get lots and lots of overseas visitors. Would we necessarily get that here? Would we have the space here? And knowing the UK, we would. I mean, Bauma, to exhibit at Bauma is an absolute fortune. It would be worse here in the UK. Can you imagine hosting something like that at the NEC? They pay you for, you have to pay for air up there. But yes, we'll come back to all of that in the chat because that pretty much. Sorry, I do feel a bit sick. I'm going to make it through. Don't worry. yes, that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I do want to roll the intro in just a second, or the outro rather, before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat, because I do want to get to the bottom of our question of the day and various other bits and pieces. But if you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Spare a thought for me, because if you have the time and the inclination, do please stick around. Because the crack will begin immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Good morning, all. Yes, I was up feeling. I've not actually been sick, but I've been feeling sick since about 8 o'clock last night. Haven't eaten. I had half a cup of tea, which made me feel even worse. So yeah, not feeling the best, but I'll be back firing on all cylinders tomorrow. Couple of things for tomorrow. I've got a fiction story coming out tomorrow. It's not very long. It's not a book, but it's a fiction story. So I'd like your help in spreading that around. And also, kind of following on from the demise of McCormack Demolition, Squib Group, obviously. Colmore Tang has announced that they've gone pop over the weekend as well, and so there's lots and lots of our brethren, our construction and demolition brethren, who are facing a very, very unpleasant Christmas, let's say. So I had a bit of a dig around over the weekend, and I've managed to find, I don't know, I've got half a box of our children's books. My dad does demolition, and my dad drives a digger, and we're going to be giving them away. Not to you lot, because I think you've already seen them, and some of you already got them anyway. But the plan basically is, if you know somebody that is currently out of work and they've got small children and could probably do with an additional stocking filler rather, then let me know. I just need their address, and I'll send them the book. I'll cover the postage. Everything else, it's not a great deal, I grant you, but it's something we can do together. So please, if you know of anybody that is currently out of work and has small children or even grandchildren or nieces, nephews, let me know and we'll hook them up. Jim Turner was first off the mark this morning. Good morning, Jim. Hope you're fitting well. Are you braced for the snow bomb? Should be finding you around about Thursday sometime, apparently. There is Footy Williams saying, good morning, bro. Good morning to you as well, Graham. Hope you're feeling fit and well today. Gary Muirhead already has the holiday blues, I'm sure. And what a difference, eh? 27 degrees he left, lands at -4. It's just not fair, is it? Dan Cullen is here as well. Top of the morning to you. Andy Dovell's here as well. Morning, Andy. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. And Peter McKenna is here. Good morning, all. Yeah, Peter had some bad news. Temporary bad news, I would like to think. The job that he applied for, we've been following this over on our WhatsApp group. The job he applied for last week, didn't get it. Got a long way down the line, didn't get it. So fingers crossed for you, Peter. Look, you can see, fingers crossed. I'm sure something will come along in the fullness of time. Who else do we have in our midst here? And there is Peter, gutted to say the least. But chin up, that's life, unfortunately. It most certainly is. There is Ken Hatcher saying, good morning. He's got some cloud, but he's also got the cold. Yeah, I took my son off to squash last night, got in the car, and it was 2 degrees. Time I got back in the car, -1. -1. Where did that come from? The Indian summer seems like a million miles ago now, doesn't it? Let's have a look. How is everyone on the break fast? How are the break fast? I'm going to guess that's cohort this wonderful Monday morning. Yeah, not exactly firing on all cylinders, but glad to be here, Dan. Mick Saunders is it. Morning, one and all. Glenn Johnston is here as well. And there is Gary Muirhead. First day back at work. Came back on Saturday, 28 degrees in Tenerife. -4 in Glasgow. Mind you, -4 in Glasgow is it's almost sunshine day. It's almost break out the shorts day up there, isn't it? Ken Hatch is on a new site. Chris Ford is with us. Dan Cullen is enjoying the new hat. Yeah. Listen, we've got a whole bunch of stuff over there. I'm not going to bore you with it. But if you have a look, no, we don't want that. We want things like go to the shop and we go to we've even got stuff for the smaller digger lover in our midst. Yes, we've got things for the kids. We've got things for women as well. Yeah, there you go. If you know a woman that likes a digger, and what a fantastic idea for a slogan that was. I'm glad I thought of it. For those about to wreck, we salute you. Yeah, absolutely. Quite right. Now, let me get rid of that altogether. We don't need to be seeing that anymore. I've done enough of the hard sell. Get rid of that. I'm going to get rid of something else from my studio. There we go. Dan, I promise I will send over the link in the to the WhatsApp group in just a moment. Over in the WhatsApp group. Glenn Johnson says, I sympathise with you today. I'm still in my bed. I got up this morning. I got up at 6:15 to get today's column up and out, and did all the prep for the show. And then I sat here and thought, I really don't think I'm going to do it today. I don't think I'll be able to go right the way through the show without vomiting quietly to myself. So I went back to bed. I genuinely went back to bed, and I laid there for about half an hour and thought, nah, man up. What's wrong with you? So here I am, desperately trying not to be sick. I want to get that hoodie and caps. Do you have other colours? I think there's about 15 colours. Take your pick. One of each. No, don't get carried away. Mark Whiting's here as well. Yes, I will put that in the WhatsApp group. No problem at all. And amazing. Thank you very much. I wish I could say I designed it. Fred's handiwork. Everything clever around here is Fred's handiwork. And that was Fred's handiwork. Andy Bullock, good morning to you, Andy. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. If you would like to read it, there's my column, all those memories. Does anyone remember the movie or Blade Runner, or more specifically, the little monologue that Rutger Hauer's character, Roy Batty, does just before he's not alive because he's a replicant, but just before he dies? Does anyone remember that? There was a time I used to be able to recite it. You people wouldn't believe all the things I've seen. I've seen attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I've seen sea beams at the Tannhauser Gate. All those memories lost like tears in rain. And on All Those Memories is the title of the article. That's what I was telling you. All Those Memories is the title of the article. That's where it came from. So, yes, I'm inspired by weird stuff when it comes to writing. Very odd. Now, here's our question today. Comes from our friend Gary Muirhead. If it was all expenses paid, which of the world's big plant shows would you attend? Given the cost of Bauma, it would be lovely if somebody else would pay for that for me. Con Expo, not exactly cheap to get to either, but personally, I'm going either Bauma, China, because I've never been and I've missed out, and I'm also going for Samota in Verona. But we'll get to exactly what it is that you all believe in just a second. There you are, Mick Saunders. You just froze up with your mouth open, and I thought, God almighty, he looks like Animal from the Muppets. Good. Anybody else, if you know your music, anybody else that think that Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters has basically modelled himself on Animal from the Foo Fighters? Just me. John Finley's here as well. Good morning, John, and he says, good morning, everyone. Gary Muirhead, excuse me just 1 second. Gary Muirhead says, has to be Bauma. If somebody else is paying, has to be Bauma to see the mighty Liebherr and Steel Wrist, of course. It's a good choice. Let's be absolutely honest. Bauma in Germany, in Munich, is the biggest, and it is unquestionably the best of the construction equipment shows. I love my trips to Con Expo. I love Intermat. I love Samota, and I love Plantworks and Hillhead and all of the others. But Bauma is the daddy, no question about it. So good choice, I reckon. There's Gary Muirhead saying good morning to John Finley, and there's John Finley saying good morning back. Mick Norton. Mick, if we can pull it off, looks like me and you were going to Bauma, China together. As I say, I was invited, and I actually had this benefit. Somebody else was going to pay for me to go to Bauma, China. And wouldn't you bloody know it, I'd waited for 3 years to get an op to fix my eye socket and my cheekbone, and lo and behold, same week. In actual fact, I think the op was the day after I was due to leave. So yes, didn't get to do that one, unfortunately. And still, if any of the Chinese manufacturers out there, I realise you're potentially facing anti-dumping levies. So if you'd like to promote your machines a bit cheaper, just fly me to China. Show me Bauma, China, and I will shout your names from the rooftops. Just saying. Dan Cullen is going for Hillhead and Plant Works, and next year trying to get to Scott Plant for the first time. It's a good choice. No flying. How's that? Andy Bullock says, I'd be happy at Hillhead, but taken there in a helicopter. Yes, that is the way to arrive. I know the guys over at Schultz Group do that. Gary Schultz. I think Gary Schultz at Schultz Group may even have a helicopter pilot's license. And yes, they do arrive in some style. That's the way to do it, because the queue in, and more specifically the queue out, bloody nuisance. But just stroll down the hill, jump in your helicopter, back in Surrey in no time. Awesome. Question of the day. To be honest, I wouldn't. I can get enough info from watching you. If I really want to know about a machine, I would just contact the manufacturers. I know, but think of the money I save listening to you. It's one of the many public services that we offer here at the Breakfast Show. We save you having to travel, save me having to travel as well. So yes, thank you for that, Mick. I will keep going with it then in that case. Graham has asked, when is the snowball meant to happen? According to, in actual fact, I'll tell you what, bear with me for 2 ticks. I may even be able to show you this. There you are. That's not the one we want. We want that one. Yeah, that's the one. According to this, for those wondering when it will snow, they need one to know more, as a new map has revealed the answer. Met Office is already predicted. Excuse me. We can expect more snow, or some snow, in the UK in the coming days. Colder than average conditions. Blah 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 blah. Parts of Scotland, Northern England, and Wales also saw overnight temperatures below zero. But when will the snow bomb hit the UK? Here's the question. The snow bomb is expected to cover the UK from Cardiff to London and up to Manchester, as well as along the west coast. There could be snow levels of up to 6 centimetres an hour and a wave of rain with up to 5 millimetres of rain an hour. Temperatures are forecast to be between -2 and -5 on Thursday. Some snow could arrive in northern parts of the UK as early as Wednesday, November the 29th. That's 2 days away. So, but any snow that does fall across the UK is expected to clear by late Friday, December the 1st, according to charts. So now you know. It's coming, people. Wrap up warm. Somebody's actually been out and bought themselves a new coat. We'll be hearing about that in just a second. Gary Muirhead says, funny seeing snow chains on a loading shovel. Makes perfect sense, though. Absolutely. Dan Cullen, love it. Can't wait for the colder temps. Not a fan of the colder temperatures, but I do love looking at the snow from a centrally heated house. Here is a good question, and it's one that I not necessarily Russia, but here we are. Mick Norton says, why is it we in the UK grind to a halt at the threat of snow, while in Russia it's work as normal with permafrost conditions? Because we're rubbish at things like that. As a society, as a nation, we all forget that we get snow. So when it arrives, everybody's forgotten how to drive sensibly. Everybody's forgotten to pack, a blanket in your car just on the off chance, and so on down the line. You go a little bit further north, you get yourself up to Sweden or Finland or whatever. Just prepared. It doesn't faze them at all. And yet we as a nation, and I don't think it helps the fact that, we have, and we've actually had gritter lorries hereabouts. We're out on Saturday night. There's nothing here. We've had no snow, we've had no ice, there's nothing here. We've had the gritter lorries out, and yet when it does arrive, will we see them? Probably not. And if you're in I'm not exactly in a rural location, but I'm like 3 roads back from a main road. So the main road will be gritted and cleared. Where we are, I'll be lucky if I can get off my drive. Yeah, Mick Saunders says, Dan, I'm not worried about the snow, mate. There we are. Just bought a new coat. I look like a cock in a condom. But by the F, I am warm. By the F. Yeah. I have some great coats. And I also, when I was in Milan a couple of months ago, I was planning ahead, bought myself a lovely scarf. Oh, really nice scarf. Hasn't even come out of the packaging yet, but yeah, looking forward to wearing that. It's Italian, of course it's cool. Big kit there, says Ken Hatcher. That was talking about the Cat 993 and the 994. Dan Cullen agrees. Bigger the better. Not the first time I've heard that expression. Jim Turner says, tune, they both look like a sound mount to be on. They certainly do. I don't think it's a great deal to choose between the two, to be perfectly honest, but you always go with the bigger number, don't you? Gary Muirhead. Couldn't figure it out, and I've watched it again while you were watching something else, and I can't figure it out. As I say, purely by perspective and size, I'm going D10. Could well be a D11. Who the hell knows? Let's have a look. Who have we got? It's a good point from Andy. Great machines, but imagine doing that same thing all day. Not for me, to be honest. The one I always feel for is the dump truck operator. Just that. Hour after hour, day after day. You must know every little bump and divot in a whole road like the back of your hand. I mean, I wouldn't suggest it, but you could almost drive it blindfold. Imagine doing that the day in, day out. It's little wonder that they've had instances of operators nodding off at the wheel. So yes, that's why we have fatigue monitoring, which I know Mick Norton says it means we're spoiled. Nothing wrong with spoiling the operators. Or more power to them, I say. And there is my mate Carly. Morning, Carly. And I hope everyone is revved up for a good week ahead. I'm revved right down today, but I will be back. Let's have a look. I mentioned Volvo, and Paul Deegan is sat in one right now. I think somebody else is as well. There's Andy Bullock. Says, I'm also in a Volvo, and for me, it's the best in its class. Often the case with Volvo. It's hard to argue with that. Chris Ford answering our question of the day. The largest show of that time, I like to dream. USA, China or Europe. Wouldn't mind where as long as it's large. In absolute truth, I mean, I wouldn't say they're much of a muchness because they all have their own very distinctive feel and that kind of thing. But no, you go to Con Expo and you expect to see a big Caterpillar stand, a big Liebherr stand, and a big Komatsu stand. And you go to Bauma, China, you'd expect the same. You go to Intermat, you go to Samota, exactly the same. Exactly the same. Chris Ford says, nice bit of guitar music. I can play all of those notes, but not necessarily in the right order. My son Fred, he's annoyingly good on the guitar. He should be. He owns about 8 of the bloody things. Who bought them? But yes, he is very good on the guitar, and he did actually try to give me a guitar lesson once that lasted, I reckon off the top of my head, about 14 seconds. Never again. Jim Turner says, question of the day, there's a vintage plant show, it might even be Newcat 2, in New Zealand. I can't remember the name of it, but it's on for about a week with plenty of muck shifted. That's the one I'd go to and see about emigrating there too while I'm out there. You'd be a loss to the UK, Jim. Don't go anywhere. Why don't you give them to a children's hospital? We have, and listen. I mean, if there is a children, I've got a local. It is a children's hospital, but it's children with very severe needs, mainly physical, but a few mental needs as well. And we have donated a bunch of stuff to them over the past, blimey, decade, I would guess, even before this show started. But books, I could give them a couple of books. I will give them a couple of books, but I'm just thinking out loud here. There is a lot of guys out there, and I've had messages from some of them about, particularly, post the collapse of Squib. They're staring down the barrel of a very, very unpleasant Christmas. And listen, I've got the books here. If we can give them to children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, just as a bit of a stocking fella, why the hell wouldn't we? Jim Turner, Mick Norton says, Jim Turner, Edendale in New Zealand. I did not know that. Dan Cullen is loading lorry, so not in the chat much. Not a problem at all, Dan. We can sense your presence. Mick Solner says, my nan used to say, it's like tears in the rain. No one can see your pain. Never heard that before. As I say, I know it from Blade Runner. But... Andy Darvell says, I used to love going to SED show, but if I could go anywhere, it would be Bauma, Germany. Love to get in the Liebherr stand and play with their kit. and they're surprisingly open to allow you to do that. Eric Smith is here, but I think he is trying to spam us, basically, so I'm not going to put him up. Graham, even by your standards, I have no idea what that means. Are strawberries short semi flip-flops? No, not a clue. Mick Saunders says, Snowbomb, that's if the country, that's it, the country is going to come to a standstill. TfL will want to up the ULEZ, Network Rail will go into hibernation. Do I care? The governor lives in the pub and I will battle his way downstairs, so do I care? Yeah, you can already see it, can't you? Other countries survive cold weather, but in the UK they go nuts. Cancel public transport, can't even drive in these conditions. Home, we used to go out in our 4x4s, tractors and salt, back roads, help the elderly and get their shopping. Kind of fortunate where I live in the fact that I've got all the shops that I could, I could survive for months by walking. I'd say walk 4 minutes with a decent covering of snow, probably walk 5 minutes. Not a problem at all, but we do have a couple of elderly people. This doesn't mean anything to you, but we've got a couple of elderly people to the side of us, so probably we're doing a bit of that, I would imagine. But here in the UK, it's everyone for themselves, not a care for the elderly or people of limited capabilities. Sad but true. I know how to drive in the snow, just don't for many years. Take it slow and easy, use the gears. Yeah, dead right. We have a very steep hill. I don't have to go up it anymore, but I live down the bottom of it and my parents used to live at the top, and the number of people that would get stranded there is unbelievable, and then you see them trying to take run-ups and hitting a patch of ice and going sideways and then coming back down again. 6 years ago, 6 years today since I started at Mick George, says Andy Deville. Started on the Volvo 480 High Reach that was sold 2 years later. Stayed on demo on hired in high reaches and the 480 demo machine. Been on Earthworks now on my new Cat 352. Not my bag, but I've got to be grateful that I'm still in work. And I'm sure you saw that Mick George obviously is the subject of a potential acquisition by Hanson, but apparently the Monopolies Commission have got themselves involved. So whether that's going to go ahead now remains to be seen. Dan Cullen says, can you help me get in touch with Demolition in Europe in the UK? I'd love to see if I get to be their operator on their stand in Plantworks, Hillhead, and be interested. Guy you need to speak to is a guy called Kevin Lynch. I've probably got an email address for him. I'll have a look. If I have, Dan, I'll send it to you in WhatsApp as soon as the show's over and done with. Footy says, when that snow hits, I'll still be here in my shorts. And Mick Saunders says, Footy, not a thought I want to go to bed with. No, I'm in full agreement. You do you, Graham, but right, people, I do need to go and sit down and concentrate on not being ill for a bit. So that's nearly an hour of anyone's money anyway. I'll be back tomorrow, almost certainly firing on all cylinders. I know I owe a few people some bits and pieces over in WhatsApp. I'll do that before I go and sit down for a while. Well, I'm sat down now, but I'll sit down somewhere else. But I will be back tomorrow, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, at 10 a.m. for the Breakfast Show. And there's Mick Saunders saying, have a good one, people, and be safe. Be safe today, be safe tomorrow, but in particular, be safe on Wednesday and Thursday, because it's going to be bloody horrible out there. So please look after yourselves. I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, everybody, have a great day. All the best.